Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirayat Nastube Bhadrasu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. This morning we will read from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 89, text 45 till 47. 47 is on the board, so I will first read 45 and a few commentaries of our previous acharyas. Darsayet Vicha Sumhanste Ma Vajnatama Ma Vajyat Manamatmana Yetena Kirtim Vimalam Manushasta Payishyanti. This verse Lord Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. Arjuna has failed in his mission to protect the newborn sons of the Brahmins, and he decided to enter fire to cleanse him from the sin of not satisfying the Brahman. But Lord Krishna here intervenes and he says, Lord Krishna said, I will show you the Brahman sons, so please don't despise yourself like this. The same men who now criticize us will soon establish our spotless fame. Radha Gopinath ki, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra ki, Shishigani Tai ki. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says, do not criticize yourself like that, Krishna says. But Arjuna replies, do not stop me, people will criticize me as a Kshatriya. So he wants to enter the fire. Then Krishna replies, those who will criticize will certainly establish our glory. Or even those who criticize will establish our glory. There is another version, Yenea Kirtim Vimalam. But according to Sridhar Shyama, this is an interpolation brought about to preserve the meter. Anyway, it's technical. Shiva Goswami, he has another comment. Krishna says, I show you the sons. Krishna used the present tense to indicate the near future, so it will happen soon. Because he wants to pacify Arjuna. He uses the word na to indicate friendship with Arjuna and their non-difference. The devatas, they know your glory, but men do not. Men who did not know, who criticized, will establish our fame without the fault of not fulfilling promises by proper knowledge. So yes. But before we go to the next verses, I will comment on this verse, otherwise it's, yeah. Omajana Timrandasya Chanansala Snakya Saksvan Miritam Yena Tasmai Sikove Nama. Chichetanyamanobhistam stapitam yena bhutani. Svamrupradhamayam dadati svapadantikam. Vandeham shiu shiyuda padkamlam shirum vaishnavam sha. Shri Rupam Jagajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savrutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakalita Shivishakam Vitam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Chatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansna Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavana Sutadevi Pranamama Hari Priye Panchakalptrabhisha Kripa Sindhubhisha Padnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Singhavadi Paskachai Dasatani Srila Prabhupada Ki. So here Krishna is protecting Arjuna. He promises in Bhagavad Gita, Nami Bhaktya Panashati, my devotee will never perish. But we see here Arjuna's situation is very special. That we learn that from Bhagavad Gita, that in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna laments. He said, how can I kill my family members that I will not be able to enjoy, that it's sinful, he thinks, to kill family members, that I will get the opposite what I desire. So there Arjuna is saying to Krishna, I cannot do my duty as a Kshatriya because of all these reasons. So I think in 126 and 127 in the purports, in one purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, Arjuna was feeling compassion for his family members. And that feeling of compassion is a sign of his being a pure devotee. So he's saying he's a pure devotee. So in the next verse, in the commentary, Prabhupada writes that so Arjuna did not want to do his duty. He was fearful of killing his family members. It's because that fear is coming from illusion. So he's in illusion, he says, in the next verse. In one verse, he says he's a pure devotee. Next verse, he says he's in illusion. That is in Maya. But what is the reality? You cannot be a pure devotee and in Maya at the same time. Not Maya. It's not going. So, but in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there in a purport, text 4, 5, Prabhupada writes, because that Arjuna is asking Krishna there, you spoke Bhagavad Gita 120 million years ago to Vivashvan, the sun god, that, but you took birth after Vivashvan, How can I understand this? And the answer of Krishna is, you and me, Arjuna, we have passed together through many births, but you don't remember. But I remember all the births that you took. In the purpose Srila Prabhupada, right? Yeah, he says, you don't remember because you changed body. That's why we don't remember. But then, in the purpose, Prabhupada said that when Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to the sun god so many million years ago, Arjuna was also there, but in another capacity. That means he was on the sun with Krishna. Can you be in the sun with a human body? No. Some have, we are living on the earth, that we have a body in accordance with this earth. On the earth, I think there is more than 70 or 80% water, and this body is made of 78% water, and then a part earth, and so on. It's a body suitable to live on this earth. For you need a body for flying in the sky. You need a bird body. For in the water, you need a body of a fish, an adapted body. So similarly, in fire, you can live in fire with a fire body. Interesting. So he said, Arjuna was also there when I spoke Bhagavad Gita to Vivasvan. So it means Krishna is an eternal associate with Krishna, who travels with him from universe to universe. And Arjuna's main task is to help Krishna to speak Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna brings Arjuna in illusion, but that's not the illusion, our illusion in this world, that it's spiritual illusion, Yoga Maya. And by Yoga Maya is directing Arjuna from within his heart to have certain doubts, so that he can ask the right questions to Krishna, so that Krishna can speak Bhagavad Gita. It's a cooperation. So Krishna uses him as an instrument. And here we see the same thing in his pastime. The same thing is happening. Arjuna is a pure devotee, but then he's going to worship Lord Shiva to get power to protect these boys, these children, from untimely death. Why is he doing that? Krishna is there. He knows Krishna is shown in the universal form. He knows he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's just Krishna who arranges the whole play. And we see Nami Bhaktya Pranashati. Krishna takes care of his devotees. And he's going to show now how he takes care of Arjuna and save his reputation, restore his reputation. So this is Krishna, how he takes care of his devotees. It's not only Arjuna who is being in such a situation, but factually also Maharaj Parikshit. Max Pariksit, who was cursed by Shringi, and because Max Pariksit went on a hunting exercise, and after the hunting exercise he was very thirsty, and he entered the hermitage of Samika Rishi, a mystic, who was in trance, and he committed a minor offense. He was asking of water, and the sage did not reply because he was in trance. And he became angry, and he put a dead stake over him. And then he was cursed to die in 7 days. But the whole plan was that the Bhagavatam the Bhagavatam must be spoken. That it was a plan that the Bhagavatam be spoken by Sukadev Goswami to Maharaj Pariksit. Therefore, we have the Bhagavatam today. And the Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. And also Kali Yuga had to start. That's all Krishna's arrangement. And he uses his pure devotees. That now text 46, I read 46. Iti sambhasya bhagavan ayunena sahasvara divyam saratamastaya patichim disam avisat. Having thus advised Arjuna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead had Arjuna join him on his divine chariot and together they set off toward the west. So they left for the west. So how did they leave? They left with a chariot and horses. That these horses are not ordinary horses. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said these were Vaikuntha horses. And they were beyond the material influence. That because now Krishna will live with Arjuna to this universe, to the west, and from the west he will enter the coverings of the universe, 8 coverings of the universe. And he will go to these coverings. And in these coverings is a dense darkness. And the horses, when they enter this darkness, they act like normal horses. And they become afraid. And therefore Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments, but factually I think this commentary is more applicable to the next verse, which is on the board. It says, these Vaikuntha horses are beyond the material influence. Losing their way in the darkness, they were acting as normal horses. And he compares, just as Krishna is not a human, but he acts as a human. And why? That for the purpose of increasing the astonishments of the listeners and observers like Arjuna. It is so beautiful that the purpose of Shiva Goswami and Sanatana Goswami is similar. And now we come to the verse of today. We will repeat together, which is on the board. Please repeat. Saptadvipam sasindum sha Sapta Sapta Girinatam Loka Lokam Tatatitya Vivessa Sumahattamaha Saptadvipam Sav Sindhum Cha Sapta Sapta Girinata Lokam Lokam Tatatitya Vivesha Sumahattamaha Saptadvipam Sasidum Cha Sapta Sapta Girinata Loka Lokam Tatatityam Vishesha Sumahattamaha. Please. Saptadvipam Sasindum Cha Shapta Saptam Girinata Loka Lokam Tatakitya Vivesha Sumahattamaha. Okay, ladies. Saptadvipam Sasindum Cha Sapta Sapta Girinata Loka Lokam Tatatitya Vivesha Sutamatma. Okay, word for word translation. Sapta, seven. Dvipan, islands. Sa, with. Sindhun, their oceans. Cha, and. Sapta Sapta, seven each. Girin, mountains. Atta, then. Loka Alokam, the mountain range, separating light from darkness. Tata, also. Atitya, crossing. Vivesha, he entered. Sumahat, vast. Tamaha, darkness. Translation and purport by the disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The Lord Chariot passed over the seven islands in the middle universe, each with its oceans and its seven principal mountains. Then it crossed the Loka boundary and entered the vast region of total darkness. Purport. In Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada notes, Krishna passed over all these planets and reached the covering of the universe. This covering is described in Srimad Bhagavatam as great darkness. The material world as a whole is described as dark. In the opening space, there is sunlight, and therefore it is illuminated. But in the covering, because of the absence of sunlight, it's not really dark. Jiva Goswami comments, the chariot crossed the seven islands and the seven oceans. Another version has Sapta Sindhun. Then it then approached the Loka mountain range. The Sanatan Goswami is similar. The chariot crossed the seven islands and the seven oceans. Another version has Sapta Sindhu. Then it approached the Loka mountain range. After all that, after crossing the seven layers of the universe, the chariot enters very dense darkness, Samahat Tamaha, the covering of Prakriti. So, we are entering with this chariot, transcendental chariot with Vaikuntha horses, into discoverings of the universe. Discoverings of the universe have been described in the previous canto. We are at the end of the 10th canto, so without the knowledge of the previous canto, it's difficult to understand this verse. So in the Coverings in the Universe, in the 3rd canto, chapter 11, 41, text 41, purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, the coverings of the universe are also constituted of the elements of earth, water, fire, ether, and so on, each time 10 times thicker than the universe itself. 10 times thicker. So, okay, Krishna describes his material energies in Bhagavad Gita. Bhumi, Rapa, Nalavaya, Kama, Buddharevasha, Ankarityame, Bina Prakatyashchate. There are 8 separate material energies, Krishna, material energies separated, says they are not directly connected with him, still they are connected. Earth, air, ether, fire, water, mind, intelligence, false ego. That and it is in this secret of the verse Bhumir Apo Nalavayar, discoverings are covering these are the substances also for forming these layers of the coverings of the universe. So first you have Earth, and that's 10 times thicker than the universe itself. So Prabhupada said, if the universe is 4 billion miles wide, just an example, 4 billion miles wide, then the size of the earthly covering is 4 billion miles, 10 times. That's and then the next covering is water, apam. The next covering is 10 times greater than the earth covering. That 10 times bigger. And then it goes on every time 10 times bigger. So Prabhupada concludes, the universe within the coverings of matter appears to be like an atom in comparison to the coverings. It's so dense that now, because I knew more information about that is in Birad Bhagavatamrita. I remember that I read it when Gop Kumar is going to discoverings. But in the commentary of Sanatana Goswami of Birad Bhagavatamrita, it's amazing. There is that he writes, when a jiva is on his way out of the material universe and passes through discoverings. To go to the spiritual world, we have to go through it. We have to go through it, right? To discoverings. So on the way out through discoverings, the soul is provided a body made of the subtle element he's passing through. So we get a body to pass through each of these elements. Otherwise, mere proximity to these concentrated masses of elementary energy would destroy his body at once. In each of the coverings, and that's interesting, more happiness is found than on Brahmaloka. There's happiness in this covering, more than on Brahmaloka. That's astonishing. And each consecutive covering offers more happiness than the one before, until finally you come in the Brahma Jyoti. And now we had here these coverings in Sanskrit are called aloka. And this is a commentary of Paragraph 3583. The highest superior love of God is found only in Vraj. So in Goloka Vrindavan, Vraj, the highest love of God is found. It is in fact superior to any feeling known in Loka. Loka is the 14 volts where we are here. That happiness is much higher than in Loka than here. But then you have Aloka, the elemental coverings of the universe. They give more happiness than within the universe. In the coverings, that's Aloka, but beyond Aloka is Atiloka. These are the Vaikuntha planets. So their spiritual happiness is found. So Krishna and Arjuna is entering these coverings. That's what our acharyas explained in these purports, is that in this universe, we have the universe is by nature dark. It's all dark in the material universe. We have only light because of the sun. Because the sun is there, that we get light in this universe. But this, from the moment they come in this aloka, in these coverings, it's dense darkness. Dense darkness. And we'll see in the next verses, because it's by Kunta, horses became disturbed. And he put his chakra before the horses, and his chakra gives millions more light on the sun, and everything becomes full of light. Therefore, that I was thinking here, wherever Krishna is light. That's in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Surya Sam Maya Haya Andakar. Yan Krishna Ta Nai Maya Adikar. So here Krishna is compared to sunshine and Maya to darkness. That when there is sunshine, there cannot be darkness. If we light a match in the dark, the darkness cannot put out a match. So as soon as we take to Krishna consciousness, the darkness of illusion will immediately vanish. Of course, we find that also in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yanena tutat akhyanam yesham nashitam atmana tesham aditya vatshyanam prakashayati tatparam. When one is enlightened by knowledge, nescience is destroyed. Then this knowledge reveals everything. The sun lights up everything in the daytime. So Krishna is our light. And this light is his knowledge, transcendental knowledge he gives in Bhagavad Gita. If we take to this transcendental knowledge, then the darkness goes out. Like in the coverings, he put his sun, his disk, and everything was full of light. But we can have the same experience in our lives. when we accept the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and make it a priority in our life, everything will become clear. That knowledge in Bhagavad Gita is compared to, in this verse, to the sun. In another verse, knowledge is compared to a boat. In another verse, knowledge is compared to fire. And in another verse, knowledge is compared to a sword. 4 comparisons, a sword. Yeah. So it's compared to the sun, but then we have the verse that's Apshatasa Pabyo Sarvabhyo Papakritama Sarvan Kana Plaveni Ma Vrichnam Santarishyasi. Krishna says, if you accept this knowledge in your heart, it's like entering a boat. And with that boat, you can cross the ocean of material suffering. In the next verse, Krishna says, this knowledge is like fire. Like fire burns firewood to ashes. This knowledge will burn all the reactions of your sinful activities to ashes. Burn it away. In the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, yes, he explains this material world is like a banyan tree upside down. And he says you must find the root of that tree and cut it down with the sword of transcendental knowledge. So these are 4 comparisons that physically the material world is dark, without sun. Because we have these coverings that 8 kinds of coverings, very thick. The universe is like an atom in the middle. And no sun can come from the Brahma Jyoti, from in the Vaikuntha planets, that the Atiloka, the Vaikuntha planets, each planet gives its own sun, its own light. It's like 10,000 suns on one planet. Krishna says, Prabhupada writes, no need, or Krishna says that, no need of fire or electricity. No electricity bill. So these are the Vaikuntha lokas. But to get there, we need real knowledge. We need to know about who we are, who is God, what is our relationship with Him. But above all, we need knowledge how to realize this knowledge. How to use the sword. That's explained also in the Bhagavatam. There's a verse which speaks about to use this sort of knowledge. We need asyuta bala. We need the power of Balaram to use it. So we get the sword. The sword is the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. But now, how to use this sword? Because this knowledge, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, is Raja Vidya Raja Guyan, that is the highest knowledge, most sublime. But to utilize it, we must take shelter of the Tattvadarshi, one who has seen the truth, who have utilized it perfectly, that we need someone's help. And we cannot use the knowledge if we are not surrendering to Krishna or to the spiritual master. Dat Krishna we must surrender. And when we surrender, Krishna says in 4:11 that I reciprocate according to one's surrender. But using that thought, we start with asking questions to the spiritual master. Thus also, we are reading this Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam started in a similar way. That Maharaj Pariksit is asking questions. What was the question in the beginning that Maharaj Pariksit asked to the sages assembled there? Someone knows?
What should we do when we die at the moment?
Yeah, what's the duty of a man about to die? And he asked all these sages. But all these sages were disciples of Srila Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva, Vyas means divider. Originally there was one Veda, but he divided it in 4. Rig, Atharva, Yajur, Samaveda. But then after that, he saw his disciples, Kali Yuga was coming, their memory went backwards before the humans had a much better memory. And therefore he divided it further. He gave parts of the Vedas to each of the disciples of Vyasadeva. Of course, these disciples knew their part of the Vedas that they memorized, realized. They knew it very well, and they gave answers according to their knowledge, and they gave all different answers. And Maharaj Pariksit became confused. But then Sukadev Goswami came, the pure devotee on the spot, and Sukadev Goswami, when he sat down, then Maharaj Pariksit asked him the same question. What is the duty of a man about to die? And immediately, Sukadev Goswami said, Varyamete Prashna. That's a very good question. Because those in the world who are attached to sense gratification and are attached to family life and so on, and who only live for their senses, they never ask such questions. So that was also the concern of the sage of Namisaranya. They wanted to know what is the Shreya, the ultimate good for everyone. That mostly people are concerned with prayers, the immediate good, what's good for the body. But the Shreyas is what's good for ourselves, which is the soul. What is good for the soul? So therefore, after that, of course, Maharaj Pariksit said, well, Sukadev said to Maharaj Pariksit, Tasma Bharata Sarvatma Bharvam Ishvaro Ahri, Shkotafyo Smartatafyasya, Sheshato Sa, forgot the last line, Satabhayam. Yeah, Sheshatat Abhayam. Abhayam means if you want to become fearless at the time of death, because he was asking what's the duty of a man to die. If you want to be fearless at the time of death, you must hear about Krishna, remember Krishna, speak about Krishna. That is the activity that will bring us this Shreya. So if we ask questions about spiritual life, it should always have that direction. Our inquiry should be about what is good for us, for the soul. Of course, bhakti is not depending on jnana. That's in the scriptures. But here it's spoken about a jnana which has no connection with bhakti. But within bhakti, there is knowledge integrated into bhakti. And that's very confidential. We find that therefore in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that real confidential knowledge. That it's covered by the other chapters, first 6 and last 6 chapters, because it's confidential. So in other words, study of Shastra is part of bhakti. Because if we study knowledge related to bhakti, then we will know what to do and what not to do what to do and what not to do to make progress in bhakti. That's also in Nectar of Instruction. This is summarized what not to do. What not to do is text 2, and what to do is text 3. Very essential. If we don't understand these basics, then it's difficult to make advancement. Text 2 says, Atyara payasasya prajalpa niyamarga sana sangha salolyamsa satpir bhaktir vinashati. So there are 6 things we must avoid, which will destroy bhakti. And we need that knowledge. Otherwise, we cannot make advancement if we don't have that knowledge. What will destroy bhakti? Atyara, eating more than necessary. Prayas, over-endeavoring for material things you don't need. Prajalpa, speaking about worldly things, we should speak about Krishna and his pastimes and his knowledge, like we do now. So, Atyara Prayasya Prajalpa Niyamaha, and one should follow the regulative principles, especially the chanting of the holy name, not neglect it. That's not good. One should not associate with worldly people. So, especially not those who are greedy for material enjoyment. So these are 6 things not to do, and then 6 things to do. Utsa nisyadaya tat karma vartanat sangatyara satovite that sadbir bhakti prasidati. 6 things good for bhakti. Being enthusiastic, enthusiastically coming to the temple every day, enthusiastically chant, and being confident. Yes, if I do that, this will bring me to the perfection of life. That confidence comes from associating with those who are advanced. They are the proof that this confidence comes from also understanding deeply this transcendental knowledge of bhakti. So this is important. And then of course, dat karma verwachten that first is Daryat, we should be patient and practice all the angas of bhakti, means hearing about Krishna, then chanting, that offering one's food, that deity worship, so many practices of bhakti. Sometimes people think, I read that in Bhagavad Gita, but how to practice it? Well, 1155 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives a 5-point program, how to make spiritual advancement. It's all there in Bhagavad Gita. That Krishna says, that make me the goal. Give up association with those who are envious. So in the purport, Prabhupada gives practical advice how to practice bhakti. So everything is in the Gita, practically. Because we need to know what do I need to do to transform my life. It must be practical. It's not just knowledge from Bhagavad Gita. So this knowledge is like the sun, a boat, a fire, and a sword. And this month we are distributing this knowledge. It's so important to give it to others, that if they begin reading Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is preaching to them, and their spiritual life starts. So Krishna is like the sun, that this knowledge destroys nations, and when the sun comes up in our heart, the sun lights everything, then everything becomes clear. We realize I'm not this body. This body will die, okay, but I will go on. I'm eternal. I'm just changing body. And then one is not fearful anymore. Your fear, your anxiety goes, especially when you realize Krishna is taking care of me. Like Krishna is taking care of Arjuna here. That is going to save him. Krishna is the only one who can save us from birth, death, old age, and disease. No one else. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments, corrections?
No microphone. Well, with the battery, we could use one.
Yeah. Good.
I hope I heard it well. At a certain point, I thought you said that there is no connection between bhakti and jnana. Did I hear that well?
Yeah.
I can imagine what you mean with that.
Impersonal jnana. Yeah. That is what it's meant. It's
obviously they're different things.
Yeah.
Jnana and bhakti are different things.
Bhakti, knowledge devoid of bhakti. That's a problem. That will not help us.
I realize myself in my devotional life that knowledge can only bring you so far.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a matter of heart.
Yeah.
That is something very different.
Yeah, but that's also right. There is a connection with what you are saying. Because how to achieve or realize transcendental knowledge? So the knowledge in Bhagavad Gita is jnana. Jnana in itself, knowledge will not help us. That we need to know how to apply it in our lives. So we need the application. And when we apply it, then we get Vijnana. Vijnana is given to us by Krishna only. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, Tesham satatayuktanam vachanam pritipurvakam dadami buddhiyogam tam yena mam upayantite. If you serve me with a little love, I will give you Buddhi Yoga, Vijnana, realized knowledge. Vijnana is explained in the next verse. Tesham evanakampartam amma jnana chamtamam nasa jamatma bhavasta jnana dipanabhasvata. Krishna says, with the lamp of knowledge, I enter the heart of living and I remove all the ignorance. And Prabhupada said, yes, in the purport, Krishna gives the devotee realization. But there is one aspect here. We get knowledge from the spiritual master. Because Krishna says, the condition to give you that realization from the heart is priti purvakam, a little love. But we don't even know what love is. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there we have Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explaining at length in chapter 6, I think, from the Adi Lila, from verse 108 onwards. For many verses, he explains the difference between lust and love. So in the beginning, we don't know what's love. Lust is acting for the pleasure of one's senses. Love means acting for the pleasure of gratifying the transcendental senses of Krishna. But we don't have experience with that in the beginning. So even this priti purvakam is not there. But Krishna accepts if we follow the instruction of the spiritual master. He accepted that service to the spiritual master as priti purvakam, a little love. We get its mercy. And by the mercy of the spiritual master, it gives us the realization through the heart. And to the heart means from super soul to soul. Yeah, near to each other. He gives. And that's not a new process. That was how Brahma got it. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adakavye, the first verse of the Bhagavatam. And Brahma got knowledge to the heart from Krishna immediately. And Krishna gives us also these realizations from within. He can only remove the darkness in our heart and change our desires. Does that help to understand?
Yes. Just a concluding little question. So when you said no connection between dhyana and bhakti, you are specifically distinguishing between dhyana and vidya.
No, in the Bhagavad Gita, that jnana is explained.
Yes.
Jnana means the difference between matter and spirit. Understanding the difference between matter and spirit. That knowledge alone will not help us in bhakti. You need knowledge related to bhakti. That's how to practice, how to realize that we are different from matter. It's devotional service. By that we get a realization gradually that we are not a body and spirit. And many have that. In the beginning, they start to chant Hare Krishna. And immediately from the beginning, you feel I'm different from this body. You don't have the realization, but the feeling comes already. And you get a full realization as a heart becomes purified. That's quite a process we have to go through. But that's called purification. It's that process, and it's not an easy thing. That if after many years, still the devotees are struggling to get through, to get really into this anartha and everything. That you can chant even a lot of rounds and thinking, now I'm coming purified. But you have to enter anartha and nivritti, namabhas. And namabhas, what is it just chanting? No, it's chanting with the proper inner attitude. That's the appropriate attitude. But to come to that attitude, it requires that we see ourselves as a servant of Krishna. That's the essence. That knowledge, and that's the knowledge that we need. Knowledge to bhakti has three divisions, and that is the real knowledge. It's knowledge about sambandha gyan, abhideya gyan, prayojan gyan. Sambandha means which Krishna, who am I, and what is our relationship? The sambandha, knowledge about the relationship. You cannot have a relationship with someone you don't know. So, therefore, you must first hear Bhagavatam and so on. Who is Krishna? And then you can understand, oh, I'm not Krishna. I'm his servant. And then our relationship is one of love. Serving out of love. And once you have that understood, you understand this love for Krishna is the goal, prayojan, understanding the goal. Therefore, we are in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, the residents of Dwarka, the residents of Vrindavan. They have achieved the goal, and we read about them. We get the goal. And then you have to get to that goal. You have to get to that goal. That's abhideya. That's the practice. 9 poses of devotional service. That's all explained in the scriptures. So there's also we will enter the 11th canto. In the 11th canto, it's very beautiful. The Uddhav Gita. Krishna explains all these things, what I'm now trying to summarize again. But and he will come to and there we learn about knowledge. At first, he speaks about attaining liberation. That is knowledge, transcendental knowledge, not related to bhakti. But then he says, it comes to the real thing. It's to attain liberation, you need to develop bhakti. And he explains it. So first, anyway, it's full of jnana, but related to bhakti. That, Krishna.
Thank you very much for the lecture. To me, it seems that like when we hear about these coverings and we hear the universe is like an atom, and then in relation to all these coverings, and then I mean, it seems to me that it's just to make us humble. To like, what are we then? And the universe is like an atom. Makes us very, very,
sure. All these planets and so on, it's just like an atom.
And then how it also, it looks to me that this game of being put in illusion is going on all the time. Because like these horses, they are Vakuta horses, and then you hear they lose it. They don't see, they don't. So this game is always going on, like, so sometimes I think we are a little bit, think, oh, now I'm going to be, with Krishna, I'm going to be in the light, it's finished now, and I've reached the goal, like that. And how we're ruling things as we hear that the coverings, then in each covering there's more happiness, but then you hear that it's completely dark. So what's the use of more happiness when it's dark? how can we be happy when it's dark?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah. It is amazing that yeah. What was the first point again you made?
yeah, that it makes us feel very insignificant when we hear such information.
Yeah,
You know. And but then we see that the reality is also so alluring, and that it seems that this game that is
yeah.
Krishna is
That's
playing with
good.
Arjuna, that it will go on eternally.
That's the point I wanted to make. While you were speaking, I was thinking about Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna says in the 15th chapter that, Trisloka Gita. It says there are the conditioned souls and the liberated souls. Then in the next verse it says, I'm above the liberated and the conditioned soul. And I control both of them. So it means, but in the spiritual world, we are under the spiritual energy. Here we are under the material energy. But in both situations, in the liberated stage or in the conditioned state, you are still under the control of Krishna's energies. Also in the spiritual world, we are always conditioned. We are conditioned by the spiritual energy or we are conditioned by the material energy. But if we are conditioned by the spiritual energy, we have much more freedom. Much more freedom. Here, everyone in the material world is a puppet of the three modes of material nature. But everyone is a puppet of his destiny. Only the devotee, he gets freedom. He learns to control his mind. He has knowledge that he starts to see things to a certain to a certain level as they are. And just by the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, we can act in such a way that we have more freedom, even in the conditioned states. And we have the freedom to love Krishna. And we have the freedom to get out of the influence of the material energy. And those who are conditioned, who are not devotees, they are just playball of the material energy. That's a question.
Just one more point.
Yeah.
It seems like Arjuna has heard about the Gita, and now he starts to fight for Krishna. Yeah. But still, in the beginning, he doesn't fight. He's Krishna is whipping him like, Arjuna, you're not fighting. Why are you not fighting? So it's not like even if he has surrendered, he has accepted the Bhagavad Gita. No, Krishna is there to. That's maybe also the reason why we need spiritual master to be.
Yeah, that is one of the lessons we have to learn. That and Krishna makes him play that role perfectly. That for Arjuna is like a real experience. But still, he is a pure devotee. Hare Krishna. Good. Thank you very much. I look forward to see you in a few weeks. Jai Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki